To the White House now, where moments ago, President Trump met with his coronavirus task force and pharmaceutical executives. This comes after a sixth person has died from the illness in Washington state. Let's listen in.
For the coronavirus, we want to welcome Dr. Deborah Birx. And Dr. Birx has been to the White House a lot over her career, and she's now going to be here working with Mike Pence and everybody full-time, and we appreciate it. We appreciate it very much, Dr. Birx, and a real expert in her field. And if you'd like, you could ask her a couple of questions when we're finished. We're working very hard to expedite the longer process of developing a vaccine. We're also moving with maximum speed to develop therapies so that we can help people recover as quickly as possible. We have a lot of recovery going on. We want to see if we can advance that. It's likely that therapies will be available before a vaccine is actually ready, and we'll seek to bring all effective treatments to market as soon as possible. Some very good work has been done on the vaccine, however, and they have some good progress, and you'll be able to ask a couple of questions of the folks here. We're also working with Congress to ensure that America has what it needs to respond to this challenge. It's a great challenge, but everybody's responding very well. Since the start of the outbreak, my administration has taken the most aggressive action in history to protect our citizens, including closing our borders very early, a lot earlier than people wanted us to do. And that turned out to be a good decision. I ordered sweeping travel restrictions, increased travel advisory levels, established screening measures, and imposed historic quarantines. We have quarantines all over the country, a lot of it. The coronavirus shows the importance of bringing manufacturing back to America so that we are producing at home the medicines and equipment and everything else that we need to protect the public's health. And I've been talking about this for a long time. That process has already started. It started long before we ever knew about this. We want to make certain things at home. We want to be doing our manufacturing at home. It's not only done in China, it's done in many other places, including Ireland, and a lot of places make our different drugs and things that we need so badly, and it's not good to be dealing with one or two or three countries, and we do very little at home, and we're going to start doing it at home, and we've been talking about that for a long time. And a lot of the drug companies, because of what we've done in terms of incentives and taxes, they're heading back here anyway. The coronavirus shows the importance of bringing all of that manufacturing back to America, and we will have that started. It's already started, frankly. It started about a year ago. The White House Coronavirus Task Force, led by Vice President Mike Pence, has been meeting daily and coordinating closely with the state and local governments. Mike had a call today with 53 governors, and I heard it was a very good call, and everybody's very well coordinated. And the governors and the states, all of them, I can't think of an exception. They've been really working closely with us, and it's been a very good relationship. We will confront this challenge together, and we will continue to do exactly what we're doing, and we're going to be very successful. A lot of things are happening, a lot of very exciting things are happening, and they're happening very rapidly. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mike, and you can say a little bit as to your calls and some of the things that have happened today.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And the White House Corona Task Force will be meeting again this afternoon. But as you mentioned earlier today, at your direction, we hosted a video and telephone conference call with 53 governors. As the President said many times, we're all in this together. And today's meeting is a reflection of the fact that this President understands that industry is a part of the one team in America that's going to address the coronavirus in this country. And I'm grateful for these leaders of the nation's top pharmaceutical companies to come in to speak to us about the development of vaccines, but also the development of therapeutic medications that can be available in the short term. And we're grateful for your participation. The President will also be traveling tomorrow to the National Institute of Health, CDC, before the week is out. And we will be meeting with leaders of the airline industry. We'll be meeting with leaders of the cruise line industry. And we welcome the partnership with industry in this country as we as we work out the President's top priority, which is the health and safety and well-being of the American people. Let me also, Mr. President, extend my welcome to Dr. Deborah Birx, one of the leading experts in infectious diseases in the world. She has served in the uniform of the United States. She has served in multiple administrations, and she's going to be our right arm here as we implement your vision for putting the health and safety and well-being of the American people first. With that, Mr. President, I know Secretary Azar has a few thoughts, and look forward to the meeting.
And Alex, maybe you can give a little update, and then we'll go around the room and people can introduce themselves, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. We continue to see cases here in the United States. As you know, we tragically have experienced several more deaths reported today, and our condolences go out to their families, of course. That's why the President's leading this whole of government response at the direction of the Vice President. We're here working with the pharmaceutical company leaders on 3 key issues. How do we speed vaccines? How do we speed therapeutics? And what are the supply chain challenges that we may be facing for pharmaceutical products here in the United States? With regard to therapeutics and vaccines, we want to know how we can not get in their way, but rather speed that development process along. I want to make sure that they all know that we've got Commissioner Hahn here from the FDA, and this is all in the context of emergency powers, emergency use authorizations, and the President will be asking you, how can we make it faster? How can we make anything faster? How can we challenge some of those normal pharma timelines that can be a little slow and bureaucratic? What can we do to speed that along given the nature of this emergency and be a good partner with you in making that happen, especially once we get the emergency supplemental passed by Congress in the next week or so. So with that said, Mr. President, thank you very much.
And supplemental is moving along very rapidly. Everyone wants to get that done, moving along quickly. Emma, please.
Emma Walmsley from GlaxoSmithKline. First of all, I'd like to really say how much we welcome the leadership, Mr. President, of this task force, NIH and BARDA, and recognise the very substantial efforts that have already been made by the administration to protect people here in the US. As a science-led company with a very large, including manufacturing presence here, we know we have a responsibility and a vital role to play. And our priority is to make sure we make available, as part of this one team, our pandemic adjuvant technology available to any company with a highly promising vaccine, because this new technology could make these other vaccines either bring more efficacy or indeed allow them to be antigen sparing, which means we could protect more people, which is obviously incredibly important as we're trying to work at pace and at scale. We've already announced 2 collaborations and hope to announce more, and we're also ready to produce, should the US government require it, a stockpile of this adjuvant. We know fighting COVID-19 requires a global effort, and the US is the vital leader in this. We're absolutely committed to play our part in the task force.
Thank you, Emma. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Please. Oh, Anthony, go ahead. I'd like you to say something anyway, Anthony.
I'm Tony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Very pleased to be on this task force, which I think you're going to see is working extraordinarily smoothly under the leadership of the Vice President and Secretary Azar. And as you know, we're involved, and that's the reason why I'm pleased to be in this room with you all, because we're involved in the fundamental, basic, and clinical research to develop countermeasures in the form of therapeutics and vaccines. And I'm sure I'll be working with many of you around the room, and I look forward to it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony, very much. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. President. Bob Redfield, the Director of CDC. I also want to thank you all for being here. I want to extend that if there's anything CDC can also do as you begin to try to evaluate some of your fruits of your labor, we're here to make that what we have available to help. We're all counting on new countermeasures to be in the arena pretty quickly.
Thank you, Bob. Please.
Good. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Vice President, thanks for having me here. Good afternoon. I'm Dan Menicella, CEO of CureVac. We're a clinical stage biotech company. We use messenger RNA technology, optimized messenger RNA molecules. Once injected into the body, They instruct the cells on how to make proteins. For instance, we can use the mRNA technology to trigger an immune response against viruses, or we can get the body to increase its production of T cells for cancer vaccines. In this way, CureVac can make potent prophylactic vaccines and cancer treatments. The technology also works well to replace missing proteins, so we can also work in a rare disease space. One strength of our technology is that we can produce prophylactic vaccines using a very low dose. So for instance, the phase 1 rabies trial that we just completed was done at a 1 microgram dose. So in other words, a millionth of a gram dose, a very, very tiny dose. And so more broadly, our company focuses, so this year we have 4 programs in phase 1 clinical trials, and the coronavirus program will be the 5th program in phase 1. We expect that the phase 1 program for coronavirus will start beginning of June. Our technology platform is fast and it's agile. We were the first messenger RNA company to have GMP manufacturing. We started in 2006. Currently, we have 3 large-scale GMP facilities, and we are up and running now. Today, we have a 4th facility built, and we're looking for additional capex to put the machinery in there. Once we have that machinery in the 4th building, we can make hundreds of millions of doses of the coronavirus vaccine. So we're very excited about that, and we want to help there. Additionally, we have developed a fully automated production machine. This automated machine is part of the collaboration with CEPI, and additionally with CEPI, we are working on the coronavirus. They have funded our efforts to get the program and the vaccine into phase 1 by June. The key point here being that we believe we can develop the vaccine for COVID-19 very, very quickly, and we have the wherewithal to manufacture it, although we would like some additional help on our largest GMP4 facility. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. John, go ahead, please.
Sure. I'm John Shiver. I head vaccine research and development for Sanofi Vaccines. Sanofi's been making vaccines for over 100 years, and for this project, we're working with proprietary recombinant protein technology that makes the first flu vaccine that's not an eggs, that's based on this technology. It has the potential to be applied very readily to coronavirus. Some early work done with SARS, the related virus, was very promising. We intend to leverage that work so that we can get to the clinic as soon as possible. Because we are a major, flu vaccine producer with this technology, we have the ability to produce large amounts of vaccine. We predict, depending upon the final formulation, 100 to 600 million doses per year made in New York and Pennsylvania, which is where we make most of our, about 90% of our flu product. And we can do this without jeopardizing our flu vaccine production, importantly, because we know that's very important to maintain that. So, Mr. President, we're willing to do whatever it takes to work with you in this administration, the collaboration we've had with NIH and with BARDA, who's co-sponsoring our research, to make sure that we do what we can to help with this problem.
When do you think you could have the vaccine? When do you think you'd be able to have it, start producing it?
We're producing it now, an experimental lot. Proteins take somewhat longer than some of the other technologies, more exploratory, but it's a technology that works. We think we can be ready for the clinic in a year. And depending upon the nature of how the epidemic goes or doesn't go, we would, and with the help of the agencies of this country, perhaps as few as several years. Difficult to predict, Mr. President, knowing that a vaccine has to be both safe and efficacious because it's given to healthy people.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Lenny?
Thanks, Mr. President, for having us. I'm Len Schleifer, the founder and CEO of the Regeneron, a company that I built with George Akopoulos over the last 30 years. And we are a monoclonal antibody primarily centered company. We are no strangers to collaborating with the administration. We work with Secretary Azar's group, BARDA, and we came up with a cure for Ebola. And we're very proud of that. Dr. Fauci's group was really instrumental in testing that under unbelievable conditions in the Congo. And it didn't create quite as much excitement because, thank goodness, it didn't hit our shores. But we can use the exact same technology, and we already have. We have 1,000 antibodies that are already sitting in dishes. We're screening them. We're selecting them. We anticipate, if all goes well, 200,000 doses per month can come out of our factory in New York starting in August. The unique thing about our technology...
That means you'd be able to use the vaccine that early?
Depends on what we see, how we work closely with the FDA, which we will do. The FDA has already reached out to us, but we've got to work closely.
So that process would be faster than John's?
It would be. The
Can you explain why that would be?
Well, so we make passive vaccine and therapeutic. Our drug will be able to protect you, whether or not you're infected. It'll protect you from getting infected, or if you are infected, it would treat you. And we have just taken processes that normally take years, literally years, and we put them end to end and now do them in weeks to months that nobody else in the industry can do. So we're very excited to collaborate once again.
So this will be a combination of a vaccine, and also it will, put it in a different way, make you better quicker.
Yeah, well, think of it this way. If you get immunized with one of these vaccines, you're going to make some antibodies to protect you. We're going to already make those antibodies and give them to you, so you don't have to go through that whole process. So it'll protect you. And as we showed with Ebola, you give enough for them. It was life-saving, truly life-saving. It beat out the antivirals. It was the way to go. It's very predictable. I just want to say I hope everybody succeeds here. I mean, this is bringing everybody together here is really critical, and there's going to be success. This industry is really talented as an industry. Sometimes we run astray, but we're going to get this done.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the invitation. Stéphane Borcel, I'm the CEO of Moderna. So the Moderna team in Massachusetts is very proud to be working with the US government and to have already sent in only 42 days from the sequence of a virus or vaccine to Dr. Fauci's team at the NIH. We're now waiting for the vaccine to be green light from the FDA so that the team can start dosing as soon as possible. What is very interesting about our technology is that we use messenger RNA. So basically it's an information molecule that allows to go very quickly from the genetic information of the virus to having a vaccine. So we already have 9 vaccines in the clinic in the US, in Germany, and in Australia. We have 5 of those for respiratory diseases. We've already partnered with DARPA from Department of Defense, with BARDA from HHS. We're having ongoing discussions. We were able to go so fast because we were working for many years with the NIH, and we had worked with Dr. Fauci's team on the MERS vaccine for the Middle East respiratory syndrome, which is so coronavirus. Yeah. And so we're able to move very, very fast from a few phone calls to getting a vaccine made ready for the clinic. We're now working on the phase 2 material, so that as soon as we get the phase 1 dose out of the NIH, we'll be able to start the phase 2 right away.
What is your timing then? What would you say?
So we're hoping to get the phase 1 start very soon now. We're just waiting for a green light. The product is at the NIH, and then it's going to be a few months to get the human data that will allow us to pick a therapeutic dose to start the phase 2 right away.
So you're talking over the next few months, you think you could have a vaccine?
Correct.
No.
With phase 2.
Yeah.
You won't have a vaccine. You'll have a vaccine to go into testing.
Phase 2, yes.
And how long would that take?
The phase 2 will take a few months before we can go into phase 3.
All right, so you're talking within
About a year, like I've been telling you.
Yeah.
Yes.
A year to a year and a
Lenny is
half.
talking about 2 months.
And we would be there in June. We will be there in June.
In a couple of months.
Yes.
I mean, I like the sound of a couple of months better, I must be honest.
But when you say June, phase 1 initiation, though, right? In June,
Yeah.
not a completed vaccine.
Well, it'd be a vaccine that would be ready for testing in phase 1.
But not
Ready to use,
We're talking about a completed
ready to use when, would you say? Ready to use?
on the public. I think it
For
depends.
next season?
So assuming that the vaccine is well tolerated, safe and efficacious, as John said, then I think the question is how do we work with the FDA to expedite that as fast as possible through some sort of fast track program to get it through phase 2 and 3 testing to get to
quickly.
So as quickly as possible.
What do you say to that, Lenny?
Look, I sense the cautiousness of Dr. Fauci, and he's right to be cautious, because vaccines have to be tested because there's precedent for vaccines to actually make diseases worse. And you really don't want to make it, you don't want to rush and treat 1 million people and find out you're making 900,000 of them worse.
It's a good idea.
So, yeah, so that's why I think why Dr. Fauci is being a little bit cautious. I don't want to speak for him, but so we need to prove that. You know, I think that with our technology, by knowing that we have neutralizing antibodies that we give, we know that this approach worked for Ebola, we know that it worked for MERS in animals, we have a greater degree of confidence that this would work sooner, I think. But
Okay.
it's just the way it is.
Thank you very much. Daniel?
Yeah, Mr. President,
Great
Mr.
company.
Vice President, thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We're
Right.
not a vaccine company. We're a therapeutic company
Good.
focused on antivirals.
Let's talk about
And
that.
Gilead Sciences, I know, has worked with a lot of people around the table here. Let me first take the opportunity to thank you for the efforts of the administration, the Secretary on the HIV elimination program, which we're
Right.
closely connected
Incredible
with.
what they've done. With HIV, incredible.
To be able to prevent and treat this disease is just extraordinary.
So we're saying 10 years, but now we're into 9 years because it could have been started earlier and somebody else didn't start it earlier, but we started it right away. And I'm now saying, I started off saying 10 years, now I'm down to 9 years. Do you think by the end of 9 years, HIV is where?
I hope we can eliminate it in the developed
I mean,
world.
can you imagine? We'll be eliminated in this.
Because we have the ability to prevent it now.
All right, even as we've been listening to this tape playback, this was earlier today at the White House, just a short time ago. There you see video of the president moments ago as he's departing on his way to North Carolina. Let's listen in.
The stock market went up. I'm not sure, it may be a record. I've never seen anything quite like it, but the stock market, I think, had a record day today up. Is that a record? Thank you. And so we're very excited about that. Our country's in great shape. We're well organized. We have great people. And you just met a lot of them. And again, the great pharmaceutical companies, they've already been at it. We've already spoken to them. I've been speaking to them for 3 weeks. So let's see what happens, and I'll see you in North Carolina. No, I'm going probably over the next 90 days. I'm so busy, I can't do it. Walter Reed, probably. We do a physical every year.
The Democratic race, we have an endorsement. We have an endorsement from Senator.
No, I think it's rigged against Bernie, but maybe he'll pull it through. It was rigged against me 4 years ago, and I pulled it through. I think it's rigged against Bernie. You see what's happening with Klobuchar. I heard just something happened there, and.
Buttigieg. So do you think that will change?
Yeah. Well, Buttigieg just went out and said something, and probably they'll say, "Hey, look, if I win, I'll put you in the administration." That's called quid pro quo, right? Quid pro quo. And they probably said, "Hey, listen, if I win, I'll give you an endorsement, but will you take me in the administration?" Now, I'm sure nothing like that has ever happened, right? But that's the way it seems to go. But no, it's rigged against Bernie. There's no question about it. Sounds like it's a little bit unfair. I'll see you in North Carolina.
All right, that was President Trump just moments ago, as you saw, preparing to board Marine One en route to North Carolina. You heard the president say he had a, quote, great meeting with the pharmaceutical executives. He talked about the stock market going up. He also weighed in on the Democratic contest right now, saying, quote, I think it's rigged against Bernie.